Hi guys, Materim here with another narrative battle report. This one will pick up from where we left off in our last battle report and features my new dwarf army versus the Warriors of Chaos, and are going to introduce a couple new armies to the story and with what's going on with the Bretonnians' hunt for the Pearl. And so let's just go ahead and get into the starting narrative. Two warriors clad in blood-red armor flanked Vigrun as they led him through the camp towards the Skull-Taker's tent. The one on the right holding the man-catcher around Vigrun's neck in case the cursed sorcerer made even the slightest unsuspected move. Vigrun remained silent, his eyes fixed down at the ground as to not meet the gaze of the Skull-Taker's warriors. Finally they reached the tent, and Vigrun was driven to his knees, the man-catcher still hooked around his neck. The warrior to his left called out, "Great Skull-Taker, we bring the Cursed One to speak before you." Vigrun's eyes fixed to the ground. He had not even had the chance to wipe the blood from his bruised and battered face. After a painfully long moment of silence, the bitter chill of the wind biting at his wounds, the flap of the tent opened, and the towering figure of Angvar the Skull-Taker, clad in his dark blood-red armor, emerged, his fiery gaze fixed on the sorcerer. "Speak quickly, shaman, and hold your blasphemies, or your head will be removed before you can speak a second word." "Great Skull-Taker, mighty and powerful, chosen of the blood god, I return with news of your daughter's raid and the battle at the witch's cave." Angvar nodded as if to say, "Continue." "Your daughter fought fiercely, and she killed many men before her injuries bled off the blood god's anger. Her party was successful. Many mewling Bretons were felled, and their skulls have returned with me, along with food, horses, and prisoners." "What of the Bretons' purpose?" "They were defeated at the witch's cave, and the White Tooth treated with the witch. She told them that the Breton's leader seeks a pearl of insignificant power, nothing more than a symbol of his pride." Angvar laughed. "A symbol of his pride? Leave it to the weak men to invest pride in trinkets and not in the lives they take. Very well. If he seeks his pride, then we will crush it. Where do they go now?" "They make for a mine, great Skull-Taker, held by the pathetic remnant of the Hammerfell dwarves." Angvar scowled, froth forming at the corner of his lips. "Hammerfell? They dare stake a claim in the lands my father's father took from them?" Angvar let out a scream of rage and pounded his armor-clad fists together. "The Breton's bauble will wait. Ready my juggernaut. We make for where these dwarves dare try to settle." Alright, and so we join our battle at the site of the Dwarven settlement, where the lightning-quick raid of the Snowman clan has found them unprepared. So here is the deployment on the warrior side. On the left here we have a unit of 20 Chaos Marauders with a Marauder Chieftain. We have a Chaos War Shrine. Next to that we have a unit of 25 Chaos Warriors with full command. Next to that is a unit of 3 Skull Crushers of Khorne with Angvar, the Skull-Taker, the Chaos Lord of Khorne, with the Obsidian Blade, Charm Shield, Talisman of Preservation, and Soul Feeder. And he serves as the general of this army, of course. And here you can see that Skull-Taker, or Skull Crusher unit a little better. He also has a unit of 5 Chaos Warhounds here, another unit of 5 Chaos Warhounds on the other side of the building, and behind it, it looks like a corpse cart, but it is actually a stand-in for the Chimera. The Warriors of Chaos player forgot his Chimera and left it at home, so we just grabbed the nearest thing with the correct base size and let him use that. And here we see the hastily formed defenses of the dwarves. Starting on the left, you have a unit of 15 hammerers. In that unit is Debrin Firstforge, the elder rune lord of the Hammerfell clan, and he has a runic weapon with the rune of parrying and the rune of striking on it, runic armor with a rune of stone and a rune of iron, and a runic talisman with 2 runes of spell breaking and a rune of warding on it. Behind that unit is a flame cannon. Then we have a unit of 20 dwarf warriors with full command. Joining them is Freya Grunwald, who is the lord, who is serving as the general of this unit. She has a runic weapon with the Master Rune of Swiftness and the Rune of Cleaving, Rune of Stone on her armor, and 3 runes of warding as a runic talisman. And then there are 2 units of Thunderers here, you can see. One of them is joined by Karad Greywhisker, the battle standard bearer with runic armor with 3 runes of iron on it. And then you see the Blue Wonder, the gyrocopter that is vanguarded up to that position. And the dwarves went ahead and won first turn. Oh, and I forgot, there is a cannon on top of that building there that you can see here. And I advanced forward with my warriors and my hammers, hoping to be able to try and meet the Warriors of Chaos in combat. And of course I left everything shooting where it was, so there'd be no chance of losing out on shots. And over here the Blue Wonder flew off to the side of those hounds, hoping to melt them with the steam cannon on the front of it and have one less unit of chaff to worry about. I'm also not really worried about the other unit of dogs because it's in range of both of the Thunderer units. So I was hoping they'd be able to wipe them off the board with very little trouble. And as I predicted, 5 Chaos Hounds does not really stand up very well against 20 Thunderer shots. Although it was a little embarrassing that it did actually take all 20 to kill the unit. I wasn't rolling very good to hits, and little did I know that would be a bit of an omen for how the rest of this game was going to go. Because over here I steam cannon the entire unit of other dogs and only managed a single kill. And more than that, the unit did not break, so the gyrocopter is going to be kind of stuck over there diddling around with the dang Chaos Hounds for far longer than I really should have allowed it to do so. But the things just weren't dying. Yeah, so I didn't... I ended up taking one shot with my cannon, but I rolled a 1 to wound on his general. Hit him dead on the head, but rolled a 1 to wound him, so that didn't go anywhere. So Warriors of Chaos turn. The dogs spin around to stare down the Blue Wonder like this. No big deal, I'll be flying back and forth over him pretty much the whole time. And much more alarmingly, the entire Snowman tribe moved up as far as they could. He really knows I've got nothing to stand up against him here with this list, so he's not afraid of it. And you see the Chimera flew from behind one building to behind the other. The only benefit of this is I can't actually see the back end of it with my flame cannon, so I'm hoping to get a shot there. So, Dwarf turn 2. My miners succeed in coming on from the side, and I move up, figuring maybe I can do some wounds with the flame cannon to the Chimera, and then charge the miners in. And with that many great weapon attacks, I should be able to do some damage, even if it still has regen during close combat. And over here, I move back the hammers a little bit, and hoping that he'll engage my warriors, who are hand weapon and shield warriors, so they're going to kind of be the anvil unit. And then I'd be able to slam him into the side with those hammers, so they'll be taking less hits and be able to deal out more damage. And I keep the shooting units where they are, hoping to thin down his numbers just a little bit before he gets into me. So, shooting time, and the steam cannon kills only 2 more dogs, and they don't panic. So, again, like I said earlier, the gyrocopter is just going to stay dicking around with those dogs for yet another turn. And here I decide to throw all of my Thunderer shots into the Chimera. hoping to get a few wounds on it past its regen so that when the flame cannon hit it and it didn't get the regen, it would do the D3 wounds it did would be enough to take it down. But again, I just wasn't rolling to hit. I managed to get one wound through, which frankly I thought was pretty good. But I figure, you know what, that still gives me a good chance to do some damage with the flame cannon, which promptly misfires and blows up. So, yeah. That is going to be troublesome because now at this point I have no other flaming attacks in the army, and no real way to handle the Chimera. Also, I was really hoping that flame cannon would help me thin down a couple of the units, so now I'm going to be dealing with the bulk of his army at full strength. And here, for the second straight time, I land a cannonball right on his general's head, and again, I roll another 1 to wound. As I kind of hinted to before, the dice were completely against me this entire game. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the cannon's even attempt to contribute to this battle. I really should just stop bringing cannons to anything. So, yeah. On the Warriors of Chaos turn, this picture pretty much says it all. He ends up getting his warrior unit into the front of my dwarf warriors, and the Chimera into the side of it. On the plus side, Freya has the Oath Stone, so I get my 5-up parry saves in every direction, but that's going to be a rough nut to crack. No other charges, so he just moves up his Marauders there. And at this point, he's threatening a flank charge, as well as trying to get in the way of my Hammerers being able to get in. Or at very least, if I do get him into the flank of those warriors, I'm going to be giving up a flank and or rear to the Marauders and even the War Chariot, or the War Shrine, whatever it's called. So he's not leaving me with any good choices. Not that it much matters, because the Warriors and the Chimera just obliterate my warrior unit. They end up beating enough so that I'm not even steadfast, and they break me, run me down, and there goes my Anvil unit and my general on the first turn of combat. So then we go to Dwarf turn, and the cannon, I think this is another misfire. I tried to shoot the Chimera. As you can see my feelings towards the Hammerfell artillery at this point. I'm really starting to lose patience with this army, because I literally was rolling nothing. I don't think my dwarf warriors even did a wound on anything. You can see I charged into the flank of the warriors. Yeah, and the Blue Wonder there flew around those 2 dogs again, breath weaponed them, and rolled 2 1s for the wounds. So, yeah. This pretty much should be the feel for the entire battle here. And so I realized that I hadn't taken good shots of each of the charges. So this is just the sort of midpoint before close combat of the Dwarven turn to show you what charges I did. I charged the Hammerers and the Marauders, hoping I could kill them quick, reform, and be able to deal with the Warriors. I charged my BSB unit and the Thunderers there into the flank of the Warriors, figuring that was going to be sacrificial, but I needed to do something. And then over here, you see that's where his Skull Crushers ended up. I charged my Dwarves and the other unit of Thunderers into the front of them. Again, I was thinking maybe the Miners could do something with their great weapons. The Thunderers basically were just there to try and get me something else. It was probably ultimately a mistake, but I at this point I was kind of losing my patience. And here I did end up doing, like, I lost 2 of the Hammerers and killed 4 or 5 of the Marauders. Did enough to break them. They turned and they fled, and they didn't even roll much. I think they rolled 4, but I rolled double 1s to pursue. So, yeah, that was, I needed them dead, and that just didn't happen. And then over here, I do kill one Skull Crusher, which I thought was freaking fantastic given my luck. But I lose all but 3 of the miners, and we actually correct this because the standard's still there because it broke, but I take that off in a minute. But they break, and what I thought was my throwaway unit, the Thunderers, actually hold steady. So they stop the Skull Crushers from chasing down the miners. Although the miners now only have 2 dudes left and will need double ones to rally. So, top of Warrior's turn, or 3 maybe? Well, bottom of 3, I guess. War Shrine charges into the flank of my Hammers to prevent me from continuing to go after the Marauders in the event that they do not rally. Yeah, really shouldn't have bothered because those Marauders are going to rally. And yeah, they turn around and face me and are going to get ready for, if I can't kill the War Shrine, to charge into me and just totally disassemble the Hammerers there. And here you see the Warriors turn around to face the Hammer unit, which is frankly the only thing worthwhile. And the dogs at this point have totally lost interest in playing games with the Blue Wonder and have turned over to this direction so they'll be able to chase down and kill the miners that are running desperately for the hole they dug to come into this cursed battlefield. So we go into combat, and the War Shrine manages to kill a single Hammerer, and the 3 Hammerers attacking back on it don't manage to hit even once. It doesn't even come down to wounding. I need 4s to hit it, and I didn't roll any 4s out of 6 attacks. So, yeah, I'm just feeling sour grapes about this one. Then over here, you can see I did remove the standard from the miners that are running, but the Skull Crushers, or more importantly, the General, slaughters the Thunderer unit to a man. But at least they don't get to overrun because there was no pursuit or anything, so they're not going to get the miners points immediately. But yeah, butchered them. They didn't have a chance in hell. So top of Dwarf, I think this is turn 4. At this point, I'm just hoping I can rally the miners and get something. So I move the gyrocopter here. End up going over the corner of the unit, so I drop the once per game bomb on them. Don't do any hits, and land there basically behind him so I can start spraying him because he reformed to face the other way. So we go into combat again. The War Shrine manages to kill 1 Hammerer, and the 3 Hammerers that attack back, I think I managed to get 1 or 2 hits this time, but they didn't wound. So I needed like 2s to wound, and I didn't. So between not being able to roll to hits and not being able to roll to wounds, they're just stuck stubborn there. So we go on to Warrior turn 4, and it starts off with the dogs running down my miners. And here you see the Chimera finally gets charged into my cannon. Yeah, I've pretty much written that cannon off. There's no way that 3, even Dwarves, which are probably the best War Machine crews in the game, are going to be able to hold off against a monster that scary. So, but more importantly, the Warriors unit finally charges into the back of my depleted Hammerers. So, yeah, this is just not going to be a good day for anyone involved who is short and bearded. I think I've managed to kill 1 of the Warriors this game, so that's pretty much a full powered Warrior unit plus a BSB in there. So we go straight into combat because the Warriors have nothing else at this point. And the Chimera actually only manages to do 2 wounds on my cannon. And you'll notice there's no dudes standing around. That's because I actually use Manic miniatures for my cannons, and they only come with 2 crewmen plus the cannon, so I count the wounds: 1 crewman, 2 crewmen, and the machine itself. So just to prevent any confusion there. Now over here, the one bright spot of the entire game is I challenged, or I accepted the challenge of his BSB with my Rune Priest, and my Rune Priest actually killed the BSB before he got to go. So that was pretty awesome. I killed the Exalted Hero there, but it doesn't matter because the rest of the warriors just beat me bloody. I think they actually killed me to a man. So this is where we stand. Only thing I've got left on the board at end of game when I surrendered was 1 wound on a cannon and the Blue Wonder, and he has lost 2 units of dogs, I think, and like half of a unit of marauders. So pretty decisive beatdown there. Freya Grunwald did her best to lay quiet in the small hollow where she was hiding. She was trembling with rage and shame, though not so far gone into either to be unaware that her reactions may reveal her presence to those she hid from. For months, she and her forces have been excavating the ruins of the trading town of Vardor, which once stood at the outermost edges of the lands of the Hammerfell clan. Its restoration was to be the first in a concentrated effort to rebuild what had been lost when Carak Nor fell nearly 150 years ago. A century and a half of waiting and months of hard work were washed away in less than 6 hours by spilled blood of yet more of her small clan. And to Freya's mind, the worst of this was the added strain that this news would put on her betrothed, Prince Doran Oathkeeper. Sworn to survive and rebuild the Hammerfell clan since before his first beard, Doran commanded the young clan from their last holding, a small gold mine in the south that did not even have a name. To find that the first steps in his path of vengeance had crumbled would put yet more weight upon his noble shoulders. Freya heard the rapidly approaching sound of a gyrocopter, and looked up to see Mad Malik, one of the most unstable of the pilots, flying along barely a handspan above the rocky mountainside. She waved to draw his attention, and as he landed, she was shocked to see Prince Doran in the machine with him. He strode over to her. The care and concern for her softened his features only enough to be perceived by those who knew him. Freya, I had come to bring foul tidings, and find them here, awaiting my arrival. Yes, my lord. The forces of the Snowman tribe have struck us again. We were unprepared, and they flooded into Vardor. My forces have been slaughtered. I do not know if any live. Prince Doran nodded. We have found Debrin First Forge and a few survivors. There has been no sign of Karad Greywhisker. What now, my prince? She asked. Prince Doran removed his clan's book of grudges from his pack. He opened it to the first blank page, and using a dagger as his stylus and his own blood for ink, he wrote, For the sacking of Vardor and the slaying of kinsmen, we swear a grudge against the entire Snowman clan, to be answered in blood. As she watched him write, Freya noticed there was another new entry just above it. For the sacking of Hammerfell holdings and the slaying of kinsmen, we swear a grudge against the Bretonnian house of Serpine, to be answered in blood and property. What now, sweet Freya? The prince asked as he finished writing. Now we remember, and we prepare. Soon these grudges must be settled. So, to no one's surprise, who was even half awake during this battle report, victory went to the Warriors of Chaos here. I surrendered, so it counts as them tabling me. Yeah. I would like to blame this loss entirely on my dice, and to be fair, they do share a very large portion of the blame. Because I was misfiring everything, I couldn't wound anything, and every time I needed the dice to do anything, they didn't. But the more I've thought about it since, there are a couple of things that made that even worse. First of all, I'm playing a dwarf army now, and I'm still playing it as if they were ogres. I need to learn to be more patient and much more reactive. From turn one here, I was marching my combat units out to deal with the Warriors of Chaos. Now, for ogres, that's a great tactic. Meeting them on the charge, getting that initial charge off, fantastic. With the dwarves, not so much. I really need to learn that dwarves are far better reactive. I should not have deployed anywhere near the 12-inch line. I should have given him more opportunity to walk towards me, which could have given him more chance to be shot apart by my thunderers, to be cannoned, well, maybe not flame cannoned because that blew up first turn. And two, I had a gyrocopter and I wasted it the entire game screwing around with dogs. His whole army is Khorne marked, so I really should have had the Blue Wonder in there in the middle of things, distracting him, using that frenzy to try and pull him away, so that I didn't end up facing exactly what I did, which was his entire army right in my face. And I think to a certain degree that's just something I'm going to learn playing more of the dwarves. And if I can start learning those tactics and learning how to play dwarves like they're supposed to be played, I should do a lot better, even if my dice don't decide to come back from the wretched spawn of Satan that they have become. But yeah, so this was kind of an unexpected attack that the Warriors made against the dwarves. So I know we were planning on introducing the dwarves at some point and their story tied into the Warriors, but the Warrior player wanted to go ahead and force the issue now, so I kind of made up a quick list, and well, it's definitely put the dwarves on the defensive at this point. Their one foothold in the region has been undone, and I've got to figure out how to play with them while at the same time trying to factor in their needs in the narrative. So that's kind of actually one of the things I love best about doing these narratives, is when stuff doesn't go the way you're expecting, because it kind of makes people think on the fly, and it makes the story take new and interesting turns. So that's definitely where we leave off. Now the next battle report is the one I expected to do this week, which is the features the Bretonnians more prominently, and will actually take place, as far as timeline goes, simultaneously with this current battle that you just watched. I'm hoping to have that up very soon, and so you'll get to see more of where the story is going from the Bretonnian point, and we're going to keep doing these. We're having a blast doing it, and I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. So if you like what you're seeing, please like, subscribe, comment. If you don't like anything that you see, or if you have ideas for the story and kind of things to go, we would always love to hear some ideas. Not promising that we'll factor anything in, because we're kind of thinking several steps ahead in the story at this point, but if somebody kicks us up a good idea, there's no reason not to steal that and run it for all it's worth. So please feed us, we're desperate. But I had a blast doing this. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and we will catch you next time. Thanks a lot.